Toads on me, Toads on 3. 1, 2, 3.
Toads! The Las Cruces Horny Toads are strapping their boots on, doing warm-up exercises and going over some last-minute strategies before taking the field for their first rugby match of the Chupacabra Tournament in Las Cruces. In this version of football, most players go without helmets and padding, and they don't perform dance routines when they score. Rugby is a continuous head-to-head, muscle-to-muscle, multi-skill game that demands every player kick, run, pass, and tackle. Rugby has become one of America's fastest growing sports. Las Cruces Horny Toads captain Justin Karrenberg says he was hooked in high school.
A friend of mine asked me if I wanted to go play rugby, and I wasn't very familiar with it, but I said yes. And so for the next year, we pretended to be in college so that we could play on the college team. And then once we got into college, we just kept playing and just went from there.
Rugby only started gaining real traction as a contact sport in the US around 10 years ago. But Karrenberg says southern New Mexico's rugby tradition goes back much further.
You know, it is a pretty deep culture in New Mexico. It's since the 70s. You know, 40 years we're having a celebration in a couple weeks. We'll celebrate our anniversary. And to have New Mexico have that grassroots organization already established, it makes for a better future. And even in the 70s and 80s, we were winning national championships back then. So although it's not always happening now, we have that history, and it's nice to be able to build on that.
New Mexico rugby isn't as strong or as organised as it was in its heyday. Karrenberg says his team is always looking for new blood. He says he was stoked when the Horny Toads recruited a new player from South Africa, a nation that lives and breathes rugby.
I got here, needed some South African things to do, and kind of came across a rugby team, which is pretty much potluck and unusual, but so far so good.
Nathan Blair moved to Las Cruces recently for a job at a winery. He says he's been playing the game since he was a kid, but adds even though most American players didn't start until later in life, they're holding their own.
You know, a lot of them do come from American football backgrounds, so from a perspective of being tough and being fit, they're pretty decent in that regard. It's just a sense of kind of getting to grips with, you know, rugby terminology and how it's done.
With the game now being played in the Olympics, Captain Karrenberg says he hopes more American men and women will take up the sport.
The rate of growth has just been getting faster and faster, and so everywhere you go now, states that didn't have it before have it, cities that didn't have it, they have better programs, and it's really growing. Now that it's in the Olympics, it's a lot more visible to people, so it's becoming a lot more familiar than it was.
Rugby hasn't been in the Olympic Games since 1924, and the last time it was played, the USA took home the gold.
10 teams played in the Chupacabra Tournament. Teams came from Santa Fe, Albuquerque, El Paso, as well as one team from Ciudad Chihuahua, Mexico. Captain Rafael Chavez says, though Mexico didn't make the Olympic qualifiers, rugby has been a popular sport in his country for some time. He says it's more rigorous than soccer.
You run like crazy. You have to hit people that are way bigger sometimes than you are.
Chavez says he wants to see more clubs playing in the border region.
We were used to going to Monterrey, Saltillo, other places, but I mean, to travel from Chihuahua south, it's way further than coming here to Las Cruces or El Paso, so we're mostly trying to get over here.
This year, the Santa Fe Santos took home the trophy, but that didn't discourage Captain Karrenberg. He says the Las Cruces Horny Toads hope to win in the US League's national competition. South African Nathan Blair says there's plenty of time to train for that. In the meantime, Blair says he wants to make sure his American teammates keep perfecting their game, while also enjoying the customary post-game celebrations.
There's always a good social element to rugby, you know what I mean? Kind of play hard and party harder.
For KRWG, I'm Simon Thompson.